Today, we are going to talk about a true gem from the golden age of gaming, and one that cemented its place as a defining title for the Super Nintendo, Super Ghouls'N Ghosts. Released in 1991, this side-scrolling platformer from Capcom wasn't just a sequel, it was a reimagining of the already infamous Ghosts and Goblins series. If you thought the NES version was tough, buckle up. This installment dialed up the challenge in ways that left players pulling their hair out and loving every second of it. What makes Super Ghouls'N Ghosts stand out is its ability to perfectly balance frustration and reward. Sure, you'd lose your armor and dignity every time you took a hit, running around in nothing but your heart-printed boxers, but there was a method to the madness. The game tested your reflexes, memory, and patience, forcing you to master its intricate level design and enemy patterns. For gamers in the early 90s, beating it was a badge of honor, a testament to your skills and resilience. The story of Super Ghouls'N Ghosts isn't what you'd call complex, but it packs just the right amount of charm and drama to set the stage for an unforgettable journey. At its core, it's a classic save the princess tale, but with an eerie, gothic twist that perfectly complements the game's spooky atmosphere. You play as Sir Arthur, a valiant knight with a history of rescuing Princess Prin Prin from the forces of evil. This time, the princess is snatched by the menacing Emperor Sardius, a demonic overlord who commands an army of undead creatures and horrifying monsters. Sardius seeks the goddess's bracelet, a mystical artifact that holds the power to destroy him. Naturally, he kidnaps Prin Prin to lure Arthur into his deadly domain. What makes the story resonate isn't its originality. It's how the game uses it to amplify the stakes. Each level takes you deeper into Sardius's nightmarish world, filled with increasingly grotesque enemies and treacherous landscapes. One of the standout elements of Super Ghouls'N Ghosts' narrative is its deceptive simplicity. On the surface, it's a straightforward mission: armor up, fight through hordes of monsters, and save the princess. But there's a cruel twist waiting for players who think they've reached the end. After defeating what appears to be the final boss, the game reveals that you're not done. To truly save the princess, you must replay the entire game on a higher difficulty setting and find the goddess's bracelet. It's a devilish move. Adding to the story's appeal is the rich, gothic setting. The game's world feels like a living tapestry ripped straight out of a dark fairy tale. From cursed villages and haunted ships to fiery caverns and icy peaks, every stage oozes atmosphere. These locations don't just serve as backdrops, they're integral to the storytelling. At its core, the game is a side-scrolling platformer, where you guide Sir Arthur through a gauntlet of dangerous levels filled with relentless enemies, environmental hazards, and tricky platforming sections. Arthur's moveset is simple yet effective, making it easy to grasp but difficult to master. You can run, jump, attack, and now, for the first time in the series, execute a double jump. This mechanic is a game changer, allowing you to adjust your trajectory mid-air and reach areas that would otherwise be impossible. However, it comes with its own risks. Once you commit to the second jump, there's no turning back, adding a layer of strategic tension to every leap. Combat in Super Ghouls'N Ghosts revolves around Arthur's arsenal of weapons, which are scattered throughout the levels. From the classic lance to the powerful dagger and the quirky torch, each weapon has its strengths and weaknesses. Armor also plays a critical role. Arthur starts with basic armor that shatters upon taking damage, leaving him in his iconic heart-patterned boxers. However, finding upgrades like the green or golden armor adds layers of depth to the gameplay. The golden armor in particular is a highlight, granting Arthur a magical attack that varies depending on his equipped weapon. Adding to the complexity is the game's infamous difficulty curve. Super Ghouls'N Ghosts doesn't just challenge you, it demands perfection. Every mistake feels costly, and checkpoints are scarce enough to make progress feel rewarding but not guaranteed. Super Ghouls'N Ghosts excels in its pacing. The game alternates between moments of frantic action and brief lulls that let you catch your breath, just long enough to prepare for the next onslaught. This rhythm keeps players engaged, even when the difficulty threatens to overwhelm. Super Ghouls'N Ghosts stands as one of the most visually and orally impressive titles of its era, leveraging the capabilities of the Super Nintendo to create a gothic masterpiece. From the haunting, meticulously crafted environments to the adrenaline-pumping soundtrack, every element works together to immerse players in its eerie, fantastical world. Graphically, the game is a feast for the eyes. Capcom took full advantage of the Super Nintendo hardware, to deliver lush, detailed backgrounds and beautifully animated sprites. Each level feels like its own self-contained world, brimming with personality and menace. Whether you're trudging through the eerie graveyard of the fallen, with its swaying tombstones and skeletal remains, or navigating the infernal caverns of the fire bridge, the environments are dripping with atmosphere. The sprite work deserves a special mention. Arthur is animated with delightful detail, from the way his armor shatters dramatically when he's hit to his frantic movements when firing weapons. Enemies are equally impressive, ranging from the undead knights and leaping wolves to grotesque screen-filling bosses. These enemies are not only challenging but visually distinctive, with each one oozing personality and menace. Capcom didn't stop at visuals. The game's sound design is equally remarkable. The soundtrack, composed by Mari Yamaguchi, is a highlight of the Super Nintendo library. It perfectly captures the game's tone, blending heroic melodies with haunting, melancholic undertones. Tracks like Ghosts and Goblins and Haunted Graveyard are as memorable as they are atmospheric, adding a sense of urgency to the gameplay. One of the most striking aspects of the audio design is how it works in tandem with the visuals to tell the story. The combination of eerie soundscapes and dynamic backgrounds creates a world that feels alive, or more appropriately, undead. In the pantheon of 16-bit games, Super Ghouls'N Ghosts stands out as a testament to what developers could achieve with the Super Nintendo's capabilities. Its visual and auditory elements remain as iconic today as they were in 1991, ensuring that the game continues to be celebrated not only for its challenge, but also for its craftsmanship. When it launched in 1991, the game was both a critical and commercial success. For many, it represented the pinnacle of the Ghosts and Goblins franchise, taking everything fans loved about the previous games and refining it for the Super Nintendo. It was praised for its challenging gameplay, jaw-dropping visuals, and haunting soundtrack, though some critics weren't shy about pointing out its unforgiving nature. Even so, its reputation for being tough but fair resonated with hardcore gamers, turning it into a badge of honor for anyone who managed to conquer it. The legacy of Super Ghouls'N Ghosts extends far beyond its original release. It found its way onto numerous re-releases and compilations, from the Capcom Generations collection on the PlayStation and Sega Saturn to the Capcom Arcade Stadium in more recent years. This continued availability has allowed new generations of players to experience its unique brand of frustration and triumph. Another testament to its enduring appeal is the dedicated fan base it continues to cultivate. Speedrunners, in particular, have embraced Super Ghouls'N Ghosts as a cornerstone of their community. Its precise controls and predictable patterns make it a perfect candidate for speedrunning, while its punishing difficulty ensures that every run feels like an achievement. In the end, Super Ghouls'N Ghosts is more than just a game, it's a legacy. It represents a time when games didn't just entertain. They demanded your attention, skill, and patience. Whether you love it for its challenge or curse it for its difficulty, there's no denying its place as one of the most important and enduring titles of its era.